This is Season 2, Episode 3 of my modular journey, and today we're going to be talking about the Make Noise Rene 2. The Rene 1 was created in 2009. Almost 10 years later, the Rene 2 came out, and it is a much greater expanded version of the Rene sequencer. Now they call it the 3D Cartesian Music Sequencer. So it has two levels of sequencing. So there's an X plane here, and there's a Y plane here. And then the C plane is derived from what's going on between X and Y. So that was a hook. That was the first hook that got me interested in this sequencer. So the X and Y planes have these inputs here for clock, mod, and CV, both of them, clock, mod, and CV. There's a Z mod and ZCV and inputs here for voltage, which have to do with moving along the states that are saved states. And what a saved state is kind of like a snapshot of your entire configuration. So X, Y, and Z, and all the functions and all the parameters all set, you then save it as a state, including all the pitches. And then you can do another one and another one up to 64, and then use these this voltage into these jacks to step through them or hop around through them based on what voltage you send in. So all of that seemed super intriguing to me, and that is kind of why I wound up with this particular sequencer. I picked up the Rene version 2 around November of 2021. It was about $525 US, and that falls in line with most of the sequencers I was eyeballing at the time. So as for why I chose it, again, it was a very early wish list item. At the time, I was trying to pick my first sequencer because I knew if I was building a rack, I would need at least one sequencer. So it was a toss-up between the Erica Sense Black, the Rene 2, and the Eloquencer. And all three of those were out of stock for many months, so I got impatient and went looking for another one. That's when I saw the NerdSec in somebody's demo and fell in love. So NerdSec is still my favorite. However, now that I have the Rene and the NerdSec, the next one will probably be the Eloquencer, but that'll probably be a little bit further down the road. How I plan to use Rene is merely as a sequencer, but it's going to be a little bit more of a random sequencer because this is not going to be a deep dive, but I still want to explain some things about this because it really goes into why I've got it and how I plan to use it. And that is, even though you set the pitches here in your knobs, you can then feed a CV in, and based on what function, let me get to a fun page, you can send voltage into the CV here and attenuate it, and you could add voltage to the step you already have configured. So if this is a sample and hold, for instance, it will add pitch to whatever is previously set. So that gives it a little bit of random in that way. And of course, you know my favorite thing in the world is random. So the other thing that's cool about it is same CV jack. You can also you can jump around to different locations. Rather than follow the patterns that you have set, the voltage you choose can help it jump around all over the place. So again, it's more random. You can change snake patterns with voltage. Whether it's going linear down each row or jumping around or hopping around or whatever pattern it is, the snake option can be randomly selected. So that is a big feature of this sequencer that I wanted when I picked it out. Along the same lines, so let me go back to fun. Along the same lines is the mod jack here. So you could send, again, voltage into here, random voltage, sine waves, whatever you want, LFO. And then the settings here, you can change the clock, you can reset, you can change the direction of the flow that it's going based on your clock. So there's a whole lot of really interesting things you can do with this. And keep in mind, you could do this for the X and the Y planes. Every time you change the X and Y randomly through these options, what comes out of the C is unknown. It's a beautiful, random, unexpected, happy accident. Love those. Moving along to a possible sound demo here. Let me explain what I've got pre-wired because I was just practicing with this because, again, I'm not super deep into Rene yet, but I have the jacks here. There's a CV, a pitch out and gate out for X and Y, and then there's the C channel over here that has a pitch and a gate as well. So my first two I have going to a chainsaw, and the third C channel over to a different chainsaw, over to a VCA. These are going through filters just because I might want to play with those. And then everything is gated through the VCA. I have this third one going to a mult way over here, so that way they're CV or they're gated together, and that's really it. I mean, I'm going into Monsoon for a little reverb. That's it. So to start off my audio part of this, I'm going to pull out the second channel because I don't want it playing notes right now, and I am using the same oscillator. So this is going to be the pitches for the X plane. So moving back to the access page real quick, you can see I have 8 slots picked, and the pitches are set here. So access shows only play these 8 of the 16 available. If you switch over to the gate page, I can then come in here and choose like every other one, turn it off. So again, this could be a saved state, so it changes things up a little bit. And these don't matter because the accesses are turned off. So that's pretty cool. If I want a pitch to glide, so if you can set glide between steps. So that's pretty cool. And then snake is the other really interesting thing. So see how right now everything is going in a linear fashion, but as soon as you press a different snake pattern, now the pattern changes direction on how it's going to play these notes. And there's 16 of these. So the reason that's important is because now we're going to get to the fun page, and I think they call it fun on purpose because this is actually pretty cool. So I'm going to grab the CV here. Hold on. Get this out of the way. I'm going to plug this into the CV jack here. I'm going to turn up the attenuation for a moment. So now on the CV row, if I wanted to add voltage, I just press the add button here. So now the clock over here off the screen, the Pamela's new workout, is sending out voltages at like a divided by 16 clock, so it's a little slow. But then whatever sample and hold goes into this jack offsets what notes I have programmed here by that much. So that's again how you can randomly change your patterns or your pitches even though you have them set here. So that was, again, super cool. The other CV-able option here is the lock or location. So each one of these is a location. So if you randomly generate those, I'm going to speed up the clock on this side. So while the sequencer is trying to follow the clock, this is telling it to go somewhere else because the lock is pressed there. And again, you can attenuate that here, you can attenuate it in your clock over there. So again, just another way to make some random. And then last but not least, we can actually change this to do different snake patterns. Again, based on what voltage is coming in here, it'll change snake patterns. If we go back to the snake page, you can see it changing snake patterns all over. Let me slow this down. So see how it's every 2 beats, it's changing the snake pattern that's being selected. Let me slow it back down again. So this is one on the clock over here. I have it divided by 16 because this is the one I want to use more. Every 16th iteration, it will change the snake pattern, so then the pitches being played back here will play back differently. So I thought that was super awesome. And again, we're just in the X plane right now. We're just in the X pattern. We haven't even gone into Y and C and the C yet. So that's pretty cool. So the next one I'm going to plug in is the mod voltage. We're still on the fun page here. So I have snake being selected. You can also do an add, so now there's a snake and an add going on at the same time. So this is all, again, just the CV coming in. So, but now we're on the mod row here. And so the mod row can do a reset. Every time a voltage hits the mod jack, the whole sequence can be reset. And the thing I probably would use most is the direction. So now you see it going forward and then switches and goes backwards. So I thought that was pretty cool. So that's kind of what the X looks like, and the CV and the mod on the fun page. Oh, there's one more page to show off. This is the quant page, and this is where if you're on a particular step, you can turn the knob, and you could pick. It'll help you tune a little bit here, so you can tune it to like B flat. So that way it plays a B flat there. Alright, so that gets us back into tune. So you can use the quant page to select that. You can also use the quant page as this top row up here to choose octave ranges. Like how many notes, what's the octave range these pitches can be set. So I have it set just to 2 octaves right here because I wanted it to go from C to C. Alright, so bring in the clock for that guy. So let's switch over here. Come back to the Y-axis. Let me actually pull out the X for a moment, because I want to be able to hear this. So that's what the sound is of the Y clock, or the Y plane, and how it's playing its notes. If I then plug back in the X, so again, I'll walk through some of the gates. If I turn on all the gate positions, that's what this sequence sounds like now. And here's again the snake pattern. You can choose a different snake pattern for the Y plane. It just starts sounding really interesting when you start adding this stuff into it. And of course, then we have our function. I'm going to put a mod jack in here. I'm going to maybe switch the direction. Then I'm going to take the CV in here, crank up the attenuator, and let's add. Hold on, I'm making some clock changes. So I just made a clock speed change on the CV so it would change a little bit faster. Just again to show the randoms. I could choose a different pattern or a different snake pattern here. It just started getting a little crazy. But you could really develop some interesting tones by using the CV and the mod for both of these channels. I'm actually not going to demonstrate the Z channel stuff, the state stuff, because I don't really understand it yet. I haven't gotten that far along. But again, if you go into state mode by holding both of those left and right arrows and you're in a state mode and you come over here, you can actually click this button here and it stores the current state. And then again, you shove voltage in here and it can step through the saved states. Again, I haven't done a lot with that, so I'm not going to even pretend to understand it right now. All right, let's see what we got. So again, I have the, for the Y plane, I have the quantize set here at 2 octaves. And so now let's bring in the third voice here, which is going to be this Cartesian. And that's going to be these CVs here. So again, let me go back to the quant page. So now the Y plane is getting its voltage or its locations selected by the X and Y as they're progressing, and then it's reading whatever pitches are being sent from the X and Y. And again, you can come in here and turn off, do gates on the Y channel or on the C channel. The one thing you can't do is snake, because again, the patterns are being generated by X and Y, so you can't snake the C Cartesian, but you can fun it. You can do funs here on the C plane. In the fun page, there's a sleep option. There's also a trig option, so it'll turn the gates into trigs. So that's an interesting effect. I like the way that sounds. So now if I go back to my X and fun, change some directions, change some pitches. Tweak some of the adds, do the same thing for the Y. Change its clock, maybe do some location, start really messing with things. So that's it for episode 3, the Make Noise Rene 2, as far as why I chose it and how I plan to use it. I think I made that pretty clear. Coming up next is the Doepfer A160-2 clock divider. Stay tuned for that.